Hey guys, a friend of mine asked me to do a video on battle belt setup, and I thought about it. I kind of really had to noodle on it for a while, like what I want to talk about, because that topic can either be like really short or really broad depending on how you want to get into it. I'm going to try and keep it in the middle ground, try not to get too wordy, too crazy, and these are just going to be my thoughts. They're not to be considered a hard and fast guideline for anybody in particular, but if you want to hear what I have to say on it and you want to see my setup, stick around. Okay, first guys, my battle belt setup for me is set up for work. Now I use it to teach and I use it to actually perform in the role of law enforcement. So I do both things with this belt. There are other reasons to have a battle belt setup. You might want to use it solely for training. You might want to use it to take classes. You might want to use it to compete. You might want to use it for the SHTF / the shizzle hits the fizzle, or maybe just for funsies. There's a million reasons, and I'm not going to judge, but I will talk to you about kind of some of the concepts and the ideas behind them. But first, let me just change the camera angle so you can take a look at my belt. I'm going to turn around in a circle with it on me, and then I'm going to take it over to the table and we'll talk about that. All right, I think that's good for lighting. So guys, I'm going to try and talk about this. I'm going to start with the holster. This is a Safariland holster, and you'll notice that it's got a plate between the backing and the holster itself. That plate does two things. One, it changes the angle of the holster. Safariland holsters are notorious for having the muzzles kind of pointed back, and I don't like that. Most people don't. They're better off with the holster straight up and down. So this plate also allows me to attach a tourniquet to the front of it. This is a negative cant plate. I think True North Concepts makes something similar that lets you change the angle. In addition, I've got the QLS setup so that I can completely just remove the holster, and I've got a backing plate here that another holster can lock into with the plate. Like I said, more on that in a second. But my holster is slightly forward of my hips. It's actually sitting over where my pants pocket sits. So from that perspective, guys, this works better for most people. On the hip is okay, but once we start getting behind the hip, really goofy stuff starts to happen with the holster. So in general, when it comes to the holster, guys, on the hip, forward of the hip, change the angle if you can so that it is more vertical or maybe even slightly muzzle forward. I think your draws are going to be much better, and that, I don't care if you're LE, mill, competitor, I think that holds true. And depending on the holster type that you're required, like this one is a retention holster, right? Without defeating the retention, the gun stays. More on that in a second. I'm going to go around back and we'll come back from here. Directly behind the holster, I've got a med kit. I don't care if you are running competition, military LE, training, whatever you're doing with a battle belt, guys. In general, I recommend having medical present, and I recommend you having training on it. I'll put links in the description. This is a Dark Angel Medical Dark Kit, and it's got tourniquets, shears, chest seals, all the goodies. Guys, I did a video on that. I'll put it somewhere like one of the corners. Those videos never get any views because medical is apparently not sexy. I do have a small glove pouch, and if you are going to interact with the public and in a hands-on kind of way, nitrile gloves are not an option. You got to have them, guys, because people are nasty, and I like to keep their nastiness off of me. Nitrile gloves, not a bad thing. And lighter color ones are actually better because you can't see blood on the darker ones. So then I've got a dump pouch. Look, some people like dump pouches, some people hate dump pouches. The guys from Gibberish Group said there's no dump pouches in CQB. Guys, let's be real. CQB is cool. There's a handful of people who probably do it a lot. There's a much smaller handful of people who do it occasionally. The rest of us probably don't do much of it. I'm going to tell you that I've cleared several structures with a dump pouch on my person. I didn't get killed in the streets. Anyways, I've got a radio pouch. Currently doesn't have a radio on it. If you need comms, you got really two choices. You can either have it on your armor or have it on your belt. I have it on my belt. You know, do what you will. Maybe you don't need it. If you do, Unfortunately, my armor at work does not have a lot of additional pouches on it. It's a little more public friendly, so I have comms on my belt. Now, currently there's a magazine sitting in this that's not a rifle mag, but I've got the provision for one rifle mag here. More on that in a second, but it's a HSGI Taco. I like those okay. I actually like these Scorpion G codes better. Sitting in the another Taco is a flashlight. This is a Nightcore Pete 23i. I'm getting ready to test a different flashlight, but this is my current jam and has been for over a year when it comes to work. Super bright, super useful. Pistol mags up front in Scorpion G codes. These are actual Scorpion G codes, not knockoffs. You know, I've heard, I have not experienced that the Amazon knockoffs are apparently just as good for like half the cash. That is probably true. I still use keepers on this belt, even though it's got pretty good Velcro. A D-ring buckle. This is a Ronin Tactics belt. I'll talk more about that and some other belts. I have handcuffs in a handcuff pouch. Guys, if you need them, you need them. If you don't need them, it's just real estate you're eating up. I need handcuffs. If you absolutely don't need handcuffs, but you want handcuffs, you got to ask yourself why. Why are you doing that? Because there's personal liability that attaches when we start doing things outside of the scope of our legal authority, ability, and training. I'll leave it at that. And some spicy treats for people who need it. Saber Red works really, really good, by the way. Not that every spray works 100%, but it's been my experience that if you get them with a Saber, when does this thing expire? Yeah, still got some use on it. Then if Saber don't work, probably you're gonna have to use something else. Like you might have to use the old hospital and the morgue. But anyways, key ring for keys and gloves, because did I mention I like to have gloves? And obviously a tourniquet. I have more tourniquets, you know, floating around. That's the whole belt. Now we're gonna go to the table. I'll show you it under different lighting so you can see what I'm talking about. I'll talk about belt brands and some other stuff. Stand by. Okay, let's talk about this crowded mess with it off of me so that maybe you can see what's going on a little bit better. I'm gonna fold up this dump pouch. It seems like it's bulkier than it is, but once you fold it up, it takes almost no real estate. It is a Maxpedition. I have had it for a million years. And it still keeps working, man, so I can't complain. So, one, the belt itself, this is a Ronin Tactics Task Force belt, I want to say. And guys, I've gotten a lot of good use out of the Ronin Tactics belts. Some people don't like Ronin Tactics. I get it. You know, if you don't like Tulam, you are, you've got disparaging things to say about him, but that's not me. I've never met the man. I've heard things one way and the other. Don't care. Like, his product's good. It is heavier. It is webbing and moly. If you want a lighter belt that's still rigid, I might point you toward Faro Concepts. Those guys make a very lightweight but still very rigid belt, and there are probably 3 or 4 others in that same space. So, whatever. You know, your mileage may vary, guys. But starting from over here, handcuff pouch. This is a, I think it's a HSGI handcuff pouch, yes. And these are Peerless handcuffs. Guys, if you need handcuffs, the ASP handcuffs are okay. I've seen them do goofy stuff. The Smiths are also okay. Smith & Wesson's good for smaller wrists, by the way, if you have to take somebody into custody. But in general, guys, I kind of like the Peerless. Now, these are not rust proof, so every now and again, you got to clean them, and you got to put just a little bit of oil on some of the moving parts, or it will rust on you. So, you know, buyer beware, user beware with the Peerless cuffs. They do require a little bit of maintenance. It's been an interesting thing to note that a lot of police agencies, when recruits show up, they don't give them new handcuffs. They just frickin' give them some old banged up ones that somebody retired, put back in property, and then friggin' you're stuck with some really less than amazing handcuffs that rust, stick shut, handcuff keys stick in. There's a reason why I got like multiple sets of bolt cutters floating around the academy, because I've had to cut kids out of handcuffs multiple times. If you're one of those kids that gets some old banged up handcuffs, do yourself a favor, blow 50 bucks, get a decent set of handcuffs, get your freaking badge number and name engraved on them so that nobody steals them. Remember, no cops are thieves except for one. There was one cop who was a thief. All the other cops are just trying to get their shit back. Anyways, so HSGI pouch for the spray. And you'll notice I mostly like HSGI stuff. I think they make pretty decent stuff. Heck, I think Blue Force Gear makes a good belt too, now that I'm thinking about it. There's a bunch of good belts out there. Maxpedition Keeper, K-E-Y-P-E-R, I'm using to hold my gloves. I also hang my keys on here, patrol keys sometimes. Aforementioned Safariland holster with the intermediary plate. Pretend gun, that's not a real gun. YouTube, calm down, calm down. We're being perfectly safe here. Dark Angel medical kit, the Dark Kit. It's got another tourniquet in it, shears, all the goodies to hopefully get somebody stabilized so that you can get them to a higher level of care and hopefully they will not perish. Side note, blood belongs inside the body. As long as the blood keeps going roundy round and the air keeps going in and out, good day. When either of those things or both of those things stop happening, that's a bad day. Teeny weeny glove pouch. Guys, you'll notice I'm kind of running out of real estate on this belt. I used to have more, skinnied up. Maybe I need to eat some more donuts. The dump pouch kind of reduced down to a much smaller size, which, you know, if you're not needing it, that's one of the reasons why I like this, because it's kind of small till you need it and you just pop it open, boom, got the dump pouch. And it's rigid enough to kind of stay open so that if I need to reach back, stuff into it and grab stuff out of it, not bad. Now that said, if you need to run, it does have the ability to close it up when it is in the open state, like, you know, fully deployed, but you can put the flap over it. So if you're running, you know, you don't have to worry about like old mags or anything, or your Twinkies or your snacks come flying out of it. You know, it's a thought. Did I mention comms? I've got the radio pouch here. And guys, this is the cheapest Uncle Mike's. Like, seriously, this is a crap pouch. Like, it is, you can do better than this, but this was my favorite price, which is free 99 or free 50, depending on your terminology. But I have to have comms. Maybe you don't need that on your belt. Did I mention the rifle magazine? Oh, I'm losing lights all over the place. Rifle magazine that I currently have a pistol mag stuffed into because I'm lazy like that. Flashlight pouch. Anytime you've got a handheld flashlight, you want to be able to access it with a hand that your gun is not in, hopefully for obvious reasons. I'm pulling all sorts of cables with me. 2 mag pouches. Now let's talk about what if I'm just using this for classes. Really, if I'm just using it for a class, and let me just put my lighting back up that I'm knocking all over the place. My goodness. I literally can't be taken anywhere. I'm sure my wife would be like, yeah, that's because he's a slob. And, you know, she's not wrong. She's not wrong. Okay. So let's just say you're just doing this for a class. You don't need handcuffs. You don't need OC spray. You may or may not need something to hang keys on or junk on. If you're going to rifle classes, I still recommend gloves, by the way, because those bad boys get freaking hot. Obviously, you're still going to have a pistol. You're still going to have it set up however you want. Guys, when it comes to med gear, I don't care what you're doing. I don't care if you are the highest speed cat on the planet or you're just getting into like this sort of game. Maybe you're just going to take a class. Med gear never hurt anybody. I'm not aware of anybody who used like this level of med gear such that it caused somebody to be less stable or more like hurt than they started out with if they did get any sort of wounding. So having it with you, even if you don't know what you're doing, somebody else does, they can use that gear, good to go. Now that doesn't mean you shouldn't get training, you should totally get training. But I'm just saying the presence of med gear has never been a bad thing. I've never seen just the mere presence of med gear cause any problems. If you have, get in the comments, tell me about how the presence of a medical kit caused the end of the world and everybody died. But I'm pretty sure that didn't happen. Nitrile gloves, like I said, if you don't need them, you don't need them. But it's been my experience that if you need them at all and you didn't have them, that kind of sucks. Other people's stuff, like their blood and bodily fluids and excrement and things like that, those are all nasty. They contain bloodborne pathogens if that individual has any of those things running around their system, and you never know. Like, you just don't know. So I'd rather just like have a barrier between me and that stuff. Now, dump pouch, do you need it? Nah, you don't need a dump pouch. Do I like having a dump pouch? Heck yeah, I do. When I'm on patrol, I have used dump pouches largely for prisoners' property. Believe it or not, that's probably the predominant use I've had with this thing on patrol until I could get some evidence bags or property bags. You know, do you need to use it for that? Can you get away with not? Pff, heck, you know, whatever. I don't care. Comms plan, like I said, whatever. And magazine pouches, guys, if you're running, even if you're just competing classes, whatever, you're still going to need mag pouches. You're going to need to reload, especially with classes. You know, in the real world, you know, does somebody go through multiple mags in a gunfight? A lot of times, no. But in a class, man, you're going to run through a ton of ammo. You're going to need a ton of mags. Good to go. So that's like the quick and dirty. Oh, and I should mention, I don't know if I mentioned before, when it comes to the keepers that I was using, the rubberized ones work the best. If you do need keepers for your belt, and I can't even find my freaking keepers now. Lord only knows where I freaking put them. You know, back to the mess. Oh, here they are. I've got like one that's much more rubberized than the other. That's a Safariland. Safariland makes really good keepers, guys. And this is some cheap knockoff that it's not as good. You can get nylon keepers if you need keepers. Those things rip, they tear. It's better than nothing, but I really like the rubberized ones. Now I know if you're wearing like a dress belt and some other stuff, you got to get the dressier looking stuff. I'm looking at you, Virginia State Police. But if that's not your jam, if you don't have to get stuff down in that world, man, avoid it if you can. Leather gear is 1970s chic. Some places are still issuing it. Ugh, oh my God. And for you, if you're stuck with that, I'm sorry. If your agency doesn't allow you to depart the issue standard, I'm sorry. But this is how I run. I run this way at my law enforcement job. I run this way at my firearms instructor job. And I can't remember the last time I competed because I suck. And you guys should definitely not follow my examples. But guys, this is my do everything belt. I don't have a different belt. I've got different holsters for different guns, obviously, natch. But this is literally like on any given day, if I'm doing work, I am wearing this belt, 100%. Obviously, you're going to need an inner belt to go with it. The Ronin one comes with its own inner belt. And obviously, do yourself a favor, like get yourself a tape measure when you're ordering these things. Measure around your waist and make sure that you are getting the proper size belt for you. Not your pant size, because pant sizes lie. They are dirty liars. Sometimes I think they make you want to feel good about yourself, and it's a smaller number than your real waist. And sometimes I think they want to make you feel bad about yourself, and it's a bigger number than your waist. But either way, these things are pretty much sized appropriately. Look on their size charts, get the correct belt. And if you're like me, do yourself a favor, don't go and get inordinately skinnier or fatter, because then you end up getting to the point where the belt is beyond its adjustability and you have to buy a whole new belt, and then it's expensive again. Like, really. And if you're skinny now, kids, stay that way. Holy crap, man. Like, getting fat and then getting skinny again was a super expensive and painful experience. I don't want to do that again. Anyways, so that's the battle belt. And like I said, you know, really this has got like everything on it. You might need a much simpler belt. And if that's the case, good to go. You'll save money. You probably save some wear and tear on you just because you're not running around with so much junk on your belt. Because that's an issue, right? Like literally the amount of crap you have on your belt really starts to weigh on you. Anybody who's pushed a patrol car around for, 15, 20, 25 years, a lot of those kids have banged up backs and banged up knees because wearing all this gear day in, day out, I don't think the human body was really designed to do it. So do yourself a favor, make it as comfortable as you can, make it as lightweight as you can, and hell, for that matter, wear it as little as you can. I'll give you final thoughts. All right, ladies and gentlemen, quickest, dirtiest battle belt setup video ever. There's a bunch of other videos out there, and a lot of content providers have done a lot of good work when it comes to the individual belt types and testing of them. I am probably, I don't know, like 2 or 3 generations old when it comes to the Ronin Tactics belt. I don't know if Ronin's going to update their belts to do something a little more like Pharaoh, where they're using like a Tegris or another more synthetic material to generate that belt that is rigid yet still very lightweight, possibly. But like I said, if you want a Gen 2 belt, like one of the really thin ones, Pharaoh's where I'd start, but there are others. Take a look at those. I'm not going to go any further on this, guys. I hope it was helpful. If you're going to set up a battle belt, you haven't done it yet, or you're making changes to yours, let me know in the comments. I'm kind of curious. What are you using it for? Are you using it for work? Are you using it for competition? Are you just taking classes? you just setting it up because you want to set it up. Hey, that's cool too, man. I got no worries, no issues with it. Like I said, my number one thing besides the pistol and the magazines that I say I got to have on there though is medical. I've never ever felt that the presence of medical is a bad thing. I'll get off my soapbox when it comes to that. Guys, thanks so much for watching. If you made it all the way to this point and you're still watching, I appreciate you. I hope it's been fun and informative, or at least entertaining mildly, one way or the other. And if you hated it and you're still watching, well, heck, I appreciate you. Guys, I'll end this here. If you do like my content, please give me a subscription, likes, and a notification bell will get you immediate notification whenever I upload or release any new content. Take care, stay safe. I'll talk to you soon.
Get 'em, Jay.